Hey y'all, it's Damica.
And it's Zenebou.
Welcome back
to DamnBoo.
Shit's so fucked up.
All you can really say is DamnBoo. Yeah, we switched it up this time, though.
I don't know if we did intentionally.
But that's alright. That's alright.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I want to ask, how you feeling this week?
I feel okay. Like right now, relatively, I feel okay. Mm-hmm. But this week was not my week. Like this week was a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. How about you?
Same thing. I feel like there's so much going on that I feel like I didn't take the time to stop.
Yeah.
Like there's so much going on in this world. And like just thinking about like some of the things that I've seen like blow up on social media, but just everywhere too. Like we have, I already know, we got the David Dobrik problem. With the, and we got, some people came out also this week too about the race problem on The Bachelor and how, they spoke out about how they were treated behind the scenes, and you already know the host for that show.
I can't say I'm surprised. I really can't.
It's like, it just continues, but I mean, also, celebrity news too. Brad Pitt was accused of child abuse, and
it's a lot of shit.
It's a lot.
A lot of messy shit.
Yeah, and even The Talk had to postpone his show.
I heard because of Sharon. It's because of Sharon the character.
It's like a lot that's just going on that I'm just like
damn. Like my thing is though, it's not new. Like I feel like. I mean, this is gonna be a wrap up for a lot of our like segments and everything, but I think a lot of people are concerned with not looking a certain thing while doing that certain thing. I don't want to look racist, but I'm doing racist things. I don't want to be homophobic, or I don't want to look homophobic, or do something that seems homophobic, but I'm being homophobic. They're more concerned with the image of it rather than like an atrocious act. Like shit, like. And
it's like. Yeah, that whole conversation was brought up on The Talk especially, and I saw a lot of people that was defending, Sharon's case about like, I'm not and it was a lot of white people too, like, I'm not racist, so I can understand. I said, how are you supposed to understand?
White people will come into the defense
if you're
every time.
Huh?
Every time.
But I don't even want to go into that. There's just a lot happening, but we thought that this would be the best time, instead of doing our usual voice out, show out, that we would provide actual resources. You already know, that the shooting in Atlanta went down this week, and
condolences to the families, to the victims.
Yes.
I think that was honestly the reason why I was feeling so heavy this week, emotionally.
Yeah, and it added on to already the conversation of Asian hate crimes that we talked about in one of our other episodes, and so we kind of just wanted to take this time out to actually just provide resources, and help y'all out and just give it a whole bunch of that. So we have www.stopaapi.org, and that helps with Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. We also mentioned it in our last podcast episode. But yeah, and then we kind of just wanted to highlight that you also mentioned that there were a number of fundraisers.
Yes, there's a number of GoFundMes that will be linked down below in the description and everything with the families. I know that one of the victims recently and her sons raised up to $2 million, over $2 million.
Wow, that's amazing.
For their GoFundMe, but there's still a bunch of others that need the support, need the outreach as much as they can through. I can't even have words because when I think about the situation, the way it was covered and everything, it's always seeing the humanity in a white man who does an atrocious ass thing. It's always seeing the humanity behind, he was just having a fucking bad day.
Bad day.
Excuse me? A bad day? Baby, you have a bad day when you spill a coffee on your shirt. You don't have a bad day and go shoot other people. And a massacre,
literally. And the way it was being covered too was just kind of well, why aren't you guys calling it out for what it was? Because it literally was an Asian hate crime. For him to say, oh, I just did it because I had a bad day. So why is it that all of a sudden it targeted a number of Asian businesses and it targeted a number of Asian individuals, a number of Asian humans? Like, what? Can you say that wasn't a coincidence, or like that didn't connect 2 and 2? And that's just like something but we definitely want to make sure that we acknowledge the victims. And we kind of just want to say their names as well. So there's Chung Park, I'm sorry, Hung Jung Grant. I'm like mispronouncing some of these names, but I'm trying my best. Hyun Jung Grant, and then Soon Cha Kim,
Young A Yu, Xiao J Tan, Dalio Fong, and Delania Ashley Wang Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Hearts and prayers and healing send out to you and to y'all's families. I can't imagine like going through something like this, and also to all the Asian and Pacific Islander individuals out there who are very afraid. I send you all my healing too, and safety. And it's so hard to speak of sometimes, like on these things, because it's just like you have like the people that are supposed to be protecting us go on national television and say, oh no, it was just like a bad day. Or like I saw a video of like this white man being pulled out on a stretcher while this old elderly Asian woman was like holding onto like her face and everything because she just got beaten. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is that? You know, you see those disparities and everything, and it's just like, what do you even say to that?
Yeah.
And I think the only thing we can do is, in that case, like really support the uprisings that are coming up, the resources, everybody, just lean on each other and look out for each other.
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that, you know, we're recognizing the people that are hurt in these communities, but also we've seen a lot of this in the Asian community and how people are trying their best also to put out as much resources and help. And I even saw in an article that, you know, calling the police isn't sometimes the best idea. Try to, you know, figure out how to, like, you know, de-escalate the situation. We know, like, you know, everybody can't take matters into their own hands, and we don't want anybody hurt, but just knowing that sometimes, you know, either like walking someone down the street late at night, or, you know, offering to help, you know, go deliver or pick up their groceries for them, because, you know, a lot of these people are definitely afraid to enter into, you know, spaces that they feel like are no longer welcome for them.
And there's also like a wealth of mental health professionals that you could definitely call that are on like a hotline and everything, so we don't have to go ahead and do all that stuff. And on top of it too, it's like y'all consume Asian culture in multiple ways, and y'all were the K-pop stars. Y'all be with Asian food. Y'all be the first ones to say something about anime and everything. Y'all be on the cosplays and everything. So in a time like this, where Asian culture and Asian individuals have contributed so much and everything, we're not here for your entertainment. We're not here to be this like forefront character for you to consume and to capitalize off of in whatever context that may be in media. Like, I think one of the things I've been seeing a lot lately, and this one was like the yellow squares and that shit. And that just goes to show how tone deaf y'all fucking are about, like, I'm sorry for my language shit, because like this topic is just, it hits home. Like, I have to call my mom to make sure that she's okay and everything, like to figure out that she doesn't go home to work feeling, you know, like feeling shaken up about this and everything, and having to look over her shoulder every single time. Like, if you are able to consume those like media forms and those parts of our culture and everything, but then go into this like tone deaf wave showing out, like y'all not really caring about us. And it's the same way that with a lot of the marginalized communities with Black people, with Latinx, and everything between. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a
like,
whole thing.
We're used for a benefit, and then when it comes to actually needing help, or that, you know, we're trying to reach others to help, we're not getting that type of, like, you know, kind of like, I don't know, we're not getting that same response back, that same energy, like, where it's lacking, because it shows how much I like to sit down and you know, use this for entertainment and enjoy what's going on, but ignore the actual real issues that's going on behind it.
It feeds into a lot of complexes. It feeds into the model minority myth. It feeds into why y'all decide to have such a fucking Asian fetish for things. And you know, like, how y'all love the culture, but never the people. Again.
And we already said this. I'm telling y'all, y'all gotta check through all our episodes, because we definitely be picking up on these conversations.
It's a fundamental thing, like, in every community and everything. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we can't rewrite this whole entire colonization of years, and that goes all the way back to history, but the fact that y'all were posting yellow squares, like, really fucking had me for a loop.
Yeah.
And it's performative too.
Yeah, it definitely
is. It was performative with the Black squares too, whenever y'all were, like, blocking the actual activism,
hashtags for people to find resources.
Right, for the protests and everything, but and there's the same sentiment now.
And so I definitely want to highlight just different like you know, resources when it deals with mental health within the Asian community. You can check out this IG page called Asian Mental Health Collective, in which they provide mad different resources, and it's reduced free therapy and support. And there's also just other resources you can check out, such as AAPI Women Lead, and there's Asian American Legal Defense Fund, and I believe you can also donate to them to just kind of help their fund out. But also, just like we mentioned, there's a lot going on in this world in general, and like it's affecting different communities. But there's on IG, there's Queer Creatives for Liberation. They're doing a virtual performance place and fundraiser that's benefiting Black artists college tuition fund, and this is happening Friday, March 26th at 8 p.m. So make sure you check out that page. And we also know that, you know, in one of our recent episodes too, the conversation of having women feel safe, that brought up, and there was a thing that was going on in the UK with a 33-year-old marketing exec. Her name was Sarah Everard, and she died just, and I think it was a policeman that was charged with her murder, and she was just on her way from walking home. And so a lot of people have been putting the hashtags "text me when you get home," because that's one of the ways that women feel like they can be safe if they have someone that knows where their location might be, or different experiences like that. And there's a thread going around as well that highlights things men can do to make women feel more safe, which is, you know, don't run up behind women, make sure that you keep your distance. And I think there's also this important conversation too of making sure that you educate your sons. Just as much as we, you know, are always bringing it back to how women can protect themselves, make sure that these men are also, you know, being educated and taking, that doesn't make sense. You can't just help one side and then not be able to just make sure that this is flowing properly through both lands, because it's just not possible. Like, it's not women attacking women in this scenario, in this case. So we definitely have to make sure that other people are educated about it and how they could go about it the right way too.
Yeah, and I think, you know, touching on that, you know, violence against women is so normalized throughout the media, news stories, and even with this like the shooting in the Atlanta area and everything. I think when we view like conversations and stories like this, there's so many different conversations we could have, and I'm kind of tired of seeing the narrative where y'all can't chew gum and walk at the same time. Like, y'all can be able to show out and show out for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders and everything, and also show out for different parts of the ways that other identities intersect into these like news stories and everything, because all the victims, they were women. 6 of them being Asian women. I just think, you know, it takes this time to be able to really confront like the actual hatred and the darkness and the bigotry that goes on.
Yeah.
And a lot of these issues, they all intersect.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, hopefully y'all can take these resources, provide, donate. But we're gonna go into our next segment, Vent Pals. So y'all already know. Even though, yeah, we're gonna switch up the gears. We're gonna, I guess, talk about a lighter conversation today, but also a fun conversation. Not that we want to, you know, neglect what's happening around, but I think this is just something really, really like that's been on our minds. We already had this booked for weeks now about what we're gonna talk about. We already know what was gonna go down. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about, we talking about the Grammys, okay?
Next segment, y'all, we gonna be on there.
Oh, child, please.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to our next segment, Vent Pals.
Yes.
So for this segment, we're gonna be talking about the Scammys. And
if y'all know what the Scammys are, the Grammys.
What are your thoughts about it? What did you like? What were some highlights you felt?
I thought the performances, some of the performances was cute. You know, I like Meg's performance.
I love it.
Like BTS's performance, but I just thought it was just weird. I mean, Trevor Noah was a host this year. Yeah, and so we saw a lot of people. It was weird because this is one of the award shows that they actually put. It was both like in person, but also virtual in a way. So this is the first time we saw like celebrities actually in a room, and that was crazy. First of all, we saw Beyonce. I wasn't expecting homegirl. I thought she was gonna be at home.
She came out
with the jammies on at home.
I feel spoiled, to be honest with you. I feel spoiled. Like, she didn't have to come out, but she did. And forever, I'll be grateful for that. Any project that she released, she could release a project 30 years from now, I'll still be grateful. Like, I don't care. It's okay to see her.
Yeah, I was just like, wow. I think it was built up, especially this year. Like, it was definitely trending on Twitter way before it even went up. There was a lot of controversy surrounding it, how this one is gonna go, how they always scamming people, how the Grammys is a fraud. But like it's weird because I'm like, it's like good to see that we have different. Had to just sneeze. But it was good to see that other artists were being highlighted. Like I saw Burna Boy winning his Grammy. Blue Ivy won a Grammy as well.
I know she won. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? I know, I just saw like a tweet earlier where it was like Jay-Z and he said, Blue, I'm gonna bring home like a sippy cup for you because he won the Grammy. And now like I seen this whole photo shoot of her with
the straw.
I'm like,
I was like, that's cute. That's cute. She did what she had to do. She did what she had to do.
I mean, she the manager. She the scenes behind it all with Beyonce. CEO. She just had to lift her finger. That's it. That was all she had to do.
Yeah. So it was definitely it was something to watch this year. I feel like a lot of people backed out as well this year, and because there was just a lot going on. First of all, they had a diversity statement towards like the end of the show, and they had their CEO at the time, at current interim CEO come out and give a like a whole speech, and it's Harvey. I'm trying to get his full name, but Harvey.
Is he like the figurehead?
Yeah, he was like the figurehead, and actually it's funny because Harvey Mason Jr. It's funny because the CEO before this, her name was Deborah Duggan. She's the woman who got into her own thing with the Grammys, and she was calling out the Grammys. She's a white woman, but she was pointing out that it's something fishy going on with the Grammys, like
as it usually is, very fishy.
And so she didn't last that long at all. And before her running the Grammys was I believe Neil Portman, Portnow actually, and he also. He's had his own, like, it's been a back and forth battle of what's been going on behind the scenes, and she was pointing out, and she actually put up she actually made sure that this was being taken effective by court, and, like, they're pulling, like, charges, and there's a whole bunch of behind the scenes, but I'm not gonna even get into that, because it has a lot to do with, like, personal relationships behind the scenes, but also that she felt like the Grammys was having, like, basically their own, like, secret communities. I don't know if you heard about that. People having secret communities.
I did, only because of the story that, like, whenever Weekend broke out, being like, yeah, the Grammys is a scam. There's a whole secret committee. It's not what you actually think it is. And I feel like I'm like, there's a lot of things that don't shock me anymore. But, like, this is one of them, because it's like, I mean, if you see how funky the categories are whenever they do nominate people for those categories, then when you see how shit like bringing artists solely because of their fan base and then exploiting them and not giving them no awards. I guess I'm talking about BTS, but but you know, like I think what it really boils down to too, I think it's just the fact that like. You really, like, anytime I've really seen a corporation release a diversity statement, half of the shit they saying is really for PR, and it's nothing for, like, an actual, like I said in the beginning, like, y'all are more afraid to look racist than to actually be racist.
Yeah.
And y'all are, with the way that y'all are pushing a lot of POC artists and everything to the back burner, just to show, like, I think just to show that you actually invited them to the Grammys rather than actually giving them their flowers.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Megan got 3 awards.
Yeah,
we gotta make sure we.
And it's a thing too, like what artists being afraid that they can't accept these awards in a way, or feel like they're not not obligated, but they feel some type of like shame with like being able to like win awards, especially against other talented artists as well, and especially with everybody's calling this like a scam or a plot or something, then it takes away from it. But I think it's important that we recognize the individuals that were able to get awards and be winners, but also just like going back to that diversity thing, and that's the first time I've seen a diversity like statement and also a CEO come out about diversity. But then like I want to say, I don't even know, probably any award show that I've seen, but
there probably has been in the past.
Yeah, there probably
I
has.
can't really think of, but I feel like
that's the first time I actually seen one.
Yeah.
And it was just weird because it came before also BTS's performance.
It's very, I don't know, it's sketchy to me because like what I heard from the from the Gram or whatever, that so the categories that BTS was nominated for, right? It was a best duo pop group or whatever, or best pop duo.
Best pop duo.
Yeah. And normally that's a category that's usually for the main broadcast, right? But instead it was pushed to the pre-show the moment that BTS is nominated for them.
Oh wow.
And
that sounds fishy.
Like, and you would think like in the general public, like you won't even notice because like you're just watching in the main broadcast. You wouldn't notice that the category is being missing, even though historically that's been a like category that's been in the main broadcast. So that's one thing. Another thing too, it wasn't just them, but it was also the fact that a lot of the categories before in the pre-show, like with R&B and everything, and like hip hop and stuff like that, like they're mainly POC. Yet that's pushed to the pre-show. You know what I'm saying? And I think
Burner was actually one of them, and he didn't like get recognized on actual like live TV. It was in the pre-show thing, but that's just, I think that's sad because it's like we're not seeing all of these amazing artists, especially amazing artists of color, that are highlighting and putting like all their work and like making sure that they're pushing hard for us to see it on TV. But instead, it kind of feels like, I don't know.
It feels hollow, and it feels xenophobic too, because like when you think about the way BTS was like nominated for, they were nominated for Dynamite, and Dynamite,
which is their only English song.
Right, it's their only English song and everything, and even though they submitted it, their Korean album, Map of the Soul 7.
Bomb album.
Amazing.
That album was lit.
The writing, the beats, the composition, everything in between, just like how it flowed all together. Having so many different genres within one album, not even get nominated. And it's not a surprise either, because like you think about like other award shows with like, you know what it reminds me of?
What?
In the Oscars, whenever Parasite was nominated, and a lot of bitches were saying that y'all can't read fucking subtitles and it shouldn't be nominated because it's not English.
Now y'all really showing that.
Like, it's that type of thing. It's xenophobic and it's racist. And like, I don't know, I just feel bad for these boys, because like you think about it, like having to, you know, put your whole soul into your body of work and everything. To get to the award show, to get ready, all that stuff, see who's gonna win, and then see that you get snubbed. Like, I'm sorry, I don't even want to anger the Lady Gaga, Ari,
not the Ari fans.
Babe, that wasn't the song.
Rain on Me, it just wasn't it. I'm not trying to even be biased, nothing. I think Dynamite had it.
Did.
Clearly.
And I ain't even saying like Rain on Me is a terrible track. It isn't, but. Even if it's not my type of track, it isn't. To Dynamite, like I'm not even saying this on behalf of like BTS stans, because I know y'all are gonna say, "Oh, Army always be saying some shit." No, we like it's
Army got it.
Like y'all literally brought BTS on there solely because you knew that they're fans. Their whole world fan base. Army's hella fucking big and dedicated to these boys. Y'all knew they were gonna tune in, and y'all knew that you were gonna let them down for that.
Yeah, and it's funny too because they were the only Korean group or act that performed that night. Why? I'm sorry you couldn't find another artist. There's so many artists in the world. You couldn't find another, like, and also too, this is just more recent. Like this, like they had their own little performance with Lil Nas, you know, that last Grammys. But now they were able to do this by themselves. But it's weird because they're the only Korean act that's been able to display. But also too, this takes me back into, I feel like with a lot of people pushing that the Grammys be more diverse, they were actually pushing for a lot of like people to, I feel like they were pushing the black artists out there. The black, like it was just, and it was just also just a lot of like, I feel like it was just all about having like, trying to be woke in a way and stuff like that. There was, you know, there was Lil Baby's performance, and so just trying to like point out diversity, but like it didn't connect at all. It wasn't, like, you could tell it was pushing for something. And it was because I saw mad black artists in there. I was like, okay, it looks kind of weird because, like, we said diversity. We didn't say just push all the black people out there. But also, like, they weren't honored enough. It was kind of it was just like a push, a figure. Like you said, like, I'm just, like, annoyed at this point.
And I think it's the same sentiment for a lot of like POC and everything, where when we do get that chance to be put into the limelight and everything, it's one or two ways. One is to push for like diversity in this whole entire agenda that has nothing to do with me or my work, or it's to use me for trauma porn. And that's why I really do feel like Lil Baby's performance was like to see more police brutality on, like, televised on an entertainment platform isn't new.
Especially a big platform.
And a big platform isn't new, but it's the fact that, like, y'all only invite, like, POC artists to talk about that. And to provide this whole entire message of like, oh, we stand with you and everything, yet you do
that
opposite.
kind of be getting me tight too. We stand with you. Like, what kind of statement is that?
Exactly, and it's like we don't see that with any other form of entertainment, and in any like other individual in any other group and everything. They can either shine in their own limelight, and that's why I had to bring up like stands with like Taylor and like Harry and everything, because like they can really stand in their own limelight. They can really not do like much on stage. Like, I'm not saying that they're not. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. They're not performers. They're performers for like singing and stuff like that. But in terms of like dancing, choreography, all that stuff, they're not performers.
We talking about the whole package.
The whole package, right? They don't have to do much. They can just sing their little single and that's it. For a lot of POC artists and everything, what I've noticed is that they have to have like this whole production.
And
usually it's nice to see.
Yeah, and it's definitely overlooked because a lot of, like you said, in a lot of these stands, they kind of focus on whatever their artist is at the moment, and it's like, well, we got a lot of POC artists that are putting all their time and effort into this dedication just so that other people can kind of give them a little bit of a limelight, or just kind of give them the same opportunity that they do for these stands that don't really have to do much.
They don't. And in the same like light too, I feel like the qualifications for being nominated, then they get blurred, because then you have boys like BTS, and then you have artists like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B and all that stuff, right? But then you have like, and Doja Cat too. But then you have like other white
Doja
artists.
was definitely snubbed this year. She definitely was.
And you have white artists that don't like, they just don't bring the same flair. They don't really bring the same heat. They don't bring the same production. They don't bring the same vision. Yet they get regaled so
spice,
much more
flavor,
easily.
and everything above.
Right, like they get rewards like that. They don't have to do so much. Like, and it reminds me of every other moment with like no hate on Adele with Beyonce and everything, but like Beyonce that year put out a whole ass production of a beautiful performance.
Amazing.
While fucking pregnant. Then Adele having her single and everything with like, a beautiful voice. Don't get me wrong, but that's the contrast there.
Yeah.
It's like what kind of qualifications do people of color have in the artists and everything, versus non-black and white artists who fit under this umbrella of like, oh, we're gonna regale you for this, we're gonna put you for this, we're gonna nominate you for that, while POC have to do a million other steps before you get to that point,
Yeah, and it makes me think too, because like I was reading like the first, they don't even allow for people like us to even get the chance, and I'm talking about women, I'm talking about people of color, because even the first CEO, Neil, who I was talking about, he had said in a behind the scenes interview, I believe, that women need to step up. And I'm like, we've been stepping up, we're just not getting that recognition at all. And it tells, and like, I was like going through a lot of facts of like the histories of like the Grammys, and it was like, before they used to have gender categories, and that was eliminated. And so then it was in 2011 that awards went from 109 to 78, and then it went back up to 84 awards total in since 2017. And when you think of, I know a lot of artists we're talking about like Nicki and Ari, who've had their experiences, and they've definitely come forward about how they were treated behind these experiences of just like, first of all, they were definitely blackballed, and to kind of like disregard their situation and make it seem like they were the villains. I feel like that's you just took away, this is why so many people don't want to come forward about their experiences, and y'all question like, why is it that, oh, blah 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 never attends the Grammys or doesn't associate with themselves anymore, and it's like, check the people behind the scenes, because
with all the bodies of work that Nicki has, I'm surprised that she doesn't have a Grammy.
Yeah,
I'm still stunned, and I mean, we know why, but like at the same time, it's like, fuck, like that, and then like another conversation comes up about like whether we should continue engaging with the Grammys, like should we even be having that type of award show or that only space for artists when we can create our own spaces.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
And then Drake also brought that up, and he was saying like how we need to, you know, find our own space. And we talked about this too, like in a previous episode, about having to create a space for other creators like us. And I also found out too that Narzus is the Recording Academy. They're the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. They have also taken up other spaces, and they've created their own committee for the Latin Grammy Awards as well. Mm-hmm. So you see how that kind of carries. So it kind of, you have to be careful with the spaces that you do create for people of color, because they can be taken by. And we're talking about we're gonna bring up the Shambu Diaries a little quick, because you know the voting committee, they're just not where it's at. You gotta make sure that we're saying this over and over again, but just make sure that people behind the scenes are just as diverse. Mm-hmm. And it's I think it was only up until 2018 when they decided to make up a diversity diversity task force, and so that's when they started.
They be making it seem like it's a whole special ops mission.
I said 2018.
Our planet, bitch. A special diversity task force. All right, go ahead.
I said no. I was just why did it take so long? And so that means y'all only and there was also other people too. There was one individual, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he came out about him being a part of the voting committee, and that he was a white male, and he said basically from his article, and now he's off the voting committee, but he was saying that it's just as easy for anyone to kind of be a part of it. And he was a lot of it is obviously run by these old white men. So all you have to do is pay a membership, and you kind of basically pick the category you want to judge in and stuff like that. I said, oh no.
The fact that it's so easy to get onto the voting committee, as easy as paying a membership. But you can do that for Spotify, you can do that for HBO Max. It's those type of things that doesn't once again, you don't have to be qualified for a lot of these things, and in places that you should be and everything. Yeah,
and so it's how do we stop people from invading these spaces? I think that's a good thing to think about. There's so many people, and when we're saying diversity, we mean we're talking about sound engineers, producers, anybody that it would be great to see them have writers of knowledge into some of the writers that go into these songs, because some of the bots y'all be thinking of, it's not only about the artists.
No,
it's not only about artists. And so it's you already mentioned this before. This isn't a new conversation. This definitely isn't something that we're that we're just now bringing up, that people have just now started to bring up. But we're definitely making sure that we reiterate this conversation and make sure that people have a focus on it and find better ways of how to approach it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's just gonna be so.
I don't know. Look, but we're gonna take a woosah moment and move on to our next segment, the end all, be all, mention, and intention. All right, so to wrap up the show, let's go ahead and dive in. What kind of mention do you have for your intention?
I already said this over and over and over again. I don't know how many times I gotta repeat myself, but I think it might be the year. I think it might be the time.
It might be the time.
We got to start creating our own spaces. And we know it's hard, definitely doing it individually and only doing it by yourself. But if you can find other creators that you have commonality with, that are looking towards the same goals and same morals and values that you want to get across to people, I think you can do it. And just like the Grammys, we are talking about, when we say creating our own spaces, we are mentioning how people need to start, probably going to create a Grammy 2.0. Probably.
I mean, it could be a completely separate entity than whatever that
It don't got a name
show
yet.
has to be, whatever that messy place got to be.
But it would be great to just see if artists could, kind of just stand up and come together and actually build something, create something. I think that would be amazing to see. And I mean, we just waiting for somebody to stand up.
Stand up, and also too, I think it, like with every other movement, creating our own spaces is listening to each other. Because like I really do feel like what gets messy with that is the fact that like it can't be just one person. It can't just be all one person to make the call the shots, to do the decisions and everything. Even like in a group of 4 or 5 dudes, like no, like we need like a whole committee. We need people that are vetted and people who are credible, people who know what they're talking about.
Yes,
and
definitely do.
Aren't out for capitalistic gain, aren't out to exploit especially marginalized communities and everything, and the talents that they hold and everything. Because at the end of the day, I think one of the things that comes to mind for me is the way that we are able to not only create that space, but to make sure that space can foster more change within it. We can't just even though that we're here to make the change and everything.
Yeah.
I think we have to really see it as something that can be ever evolving. There's something about being able to restore and be able to connect with others in communities that I think becomes a really beautiful thing when we engage in it. One of the things that I wanted to connect that to those, but the recent events that's been going on and everything, outside of the entertainment and all that stuff, I think my intention for this week is for everyone to just look out for each other and be safe, do whatever feels best for you. We in a whole pandemonium, and I honestly don't think we need to expect ourselves to be at 110% even before this pandemic. Like I don't even think, regardless of like whatever commitments we have and everything, whatever school, work, however it may be, I feel like we're all in kind of survival mode, and I feel like it's further intensified, unfortunately, with the injustices that are going on.
Yeah.
So my only suggestion is to look out for each other, take care of yourself, and really heal. Take your time healing. There's no time. There's no time limited to whatever we're doing. Everyone has their own pace. So
yeah, I think you put out some good points. Like we just really have to make sure that we listen to each other. Like you said, make sure that it's evolving change. And I think we kind of see that with how we're able to create DamnBoo, create a space for us. And hopefully, all we hope is that this allows for people to seek change, get resources, and push other people to bring change. But
absolutely,
yeah. Whew.
Take a deep breath, girl.
Gotta breathe. Remember to breathe.
But thank you to our team. Sky Figueroa for the marketing, Alexis Metcalf for the videography, Kim Knott with the sound engineers.
And thank you to our Waveform team, but also thank you to everybody that's been listening, that has been sharing, doing whatever to help us out, getting us in contact with people.
See my cute face.
Child. But yeah, and you can already catch us on IG, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook. We're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and yeah, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Y'all can see what's going on behind the cameras. In front of the cameras. All right, but thank you guys.
Thank y'all. Be safe.